What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Minsky back out with yet another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the newest Legacy sequel, the I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 requel. But before we get into the actual beginning of the video, what's up, guys? Don't forget those subscribe if you're new to the channel, because number one, it's absolutely free. Number two, also maybe help the YouTube algorithm. And I recommend the video to more people, and maybe they could join. And do feel free to comment your thoughts on the I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 sequel / remake down below. With that being said, guys, let's go let's give a quick plot synopsis of the film, shall we? Transition issues,
When five friends inadvertently cause a deadly car accident, they cover up their involvement and make a pact to keep it a secret rather than face the consequences. 1 year later, the past comes back to haunt them as they learn someone knows what they did last summer. Stalked by a mysterious killer, they soon seek help from two survivors of the legendary Southport Massacre of 1997.
So with I Know What You Did Last Summer, the franchise as a whole, I'm not the biggest fan of. That doesn't mean I don't like it, because I think the first one's good. I enjoy it, while still not thinking it's a bona fide classic or anything. Even though, realistically, I should kind of feel that way, because it came out during the same era as Scream, which, for those who do not know, the first Scream, the Scream from 1996, is actually my second favorite movie of all time. So, it kind of shocks me a little bit. I still Know What You Did Last Summer. Yes, it's a bad movie, I will admit, but it's a fun bad movie, and that's more like a guilty pleasure for me. I still get a kick out of that one. And then I Always Know What You Did Last Summer. I have not seen, but I hear such terrible things that I don't really ever want to check that movie out, because how bad I hear everyone talks about it. And when they announced this originally, I was like 50-50, because I think this isn't necessarily the biggest horror movie franchise out there, so you're doing a requel as well, copying and pasting basically with the Scream movies. Then also the Halloween movies did this, then with the David Gordon Green trilogy, of course. Then also Texas Chainsaw Massacre did it, which I'm guessing they might do it again, because they love restarting with that franchise and going back to the original so many times it's not even funny. So yeah, I was going, okay, I'll check it out. But then all those trailers started dropping. I was going, actually this could be good. Let's see how it turns out. And let's just see what I thought of the movie, shall we? Alright. I need to take a drink of water before I start, so I apologize. And start off with the good. We always start off with the good for our movie reviews here. And the first one I have is the kills. Now, I'm in the high minority, it looks
Like that, I actually thought there was some pretty decent Carnage candy in here. Is there as much as I would like to see? No. But I still think it's the best kills of the franchise. Which, don't get me wrong, that's not a high bar, because they're not overly gory. But still, I thought they were solid kills.
I think that the movie, as well, is pretty decently shot throughout. I think the director behind the camera did a great job. All the chase sequences that you get with the fishermen in this movie, I actually think are quite solid. And they do a great job in this movie as well, where I think this was the first time where I thought this fisherman was, like, a genuine, like, threat. That's what I felt in this movie. I felt his kind of viciousness throughout this whole entire movie. Kind of similar to what they did in Scream 2022 and Scream 6, where you really feel how strong this fisherman is. So I enjoyed that part of the movie. The acting, I think, overall is decent. I think that Madeline Klein is the most fun out of the new cast that you have here, where she very much plays the kind of high school prom queen character, where she's very, very funny, where all the characters in this, essentially the new ones that you get introduced, are based kind of off the TikTok generation. So I think for all the acting from those characters, I think they're all acted out pretty decently throughout. Another good, no spoilers here because obviously I don't want to give away anything, but I might save it for my actual spoiler review in either short form
or full-length video form. Don't know which one quite yet, but the post-credit scene in here, I think, is a nice little fan servicey moment for people that do really enjoy this franchise. So if you're a fan of this franchise, be sure to stay for the post-credit scene.
So as I kind of loosely mentioned before, this film is centered amongst the TikTok generation for the new characters that get introduced, where I think they did a great job at having a certain humor with that keeps on going throughout this whole entire movie, mostly from Madeline Klein's character, as I mentioned before, where there were actually a couple of genuine laughs from the movie with the jokes that they made. As well, this movie and the final positive, I think this is actually really well paced. It's very, very entertaining, where it's very fast paced, so I enjoyed my time with it. But that is good done. Now let's move on to the mixed aspects. First one I have is the killer or killer reveals. I'm not going to elaborate too much because, as I said before, I might do an individual spoiler review for this movie because I got to get my thoughts across, but a part of the reveal felt predictable, but then as well, a part of the reveal also felt shocking in a sense. I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to go too in depth because I might accidentally spoil it. I don't want to do that. Another mixed, the characters. So I said the acting was good. However, I don't think any of the new characters are all that great because I'm 50-50 about 2 or 3. 3 of the 5 that you get introduced in this movie, I'm mixed on. You have the jock character, which I thought he was funny. He's actually going to be in Jordan Peele's newest film, I believe, called Him, coming out a little bit later this year. I thought he was pretty funny. However, it just felt as if he was copying the one character from the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. And that kind of goes the same for Madeline Klein's character, where she's very much the Sarah Michelle Gellar character from the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. But this time they fully lean into that side of that character. The main girl in the movie, the main final girl, if you will, she's kind of like Jennifer Love Hewitt's character from the original movies, but they do some things where, okay, she's a little bit different, I guess. And then the one guy from The Little Mermaid, I forgot what his name was, he's completely, like, throwaway in here, to be honest with you. But, like, the characters weren't all that great, to be honest. But I did enjoy Madeline Klein and the one football jock character, even though they're literally just carbon copy paste from the original I Know What You Did Last Summer characters. I think Freddie Prinze Jr.'s involvement, I'm also very, very 50-50 on, because the way he's kind of involved in this movie, it's very
similar to how Dewey was used in Scream 5, but this time with his character in the I Know What You Did franchise, where I thought was cool, but still, I think it's a little too similar to Scream, which I'll elaborate more on that later.
Final mixed I have is the callbacks, where this is a common thing with most legacy sequels because most of them don't usually get the mix right. Here, I'm 50-50 because there's some moments where I was going, oh, that's a cool callback to the original movies, but then also there's moments where I kind of went, I feel that was a little too fan servicey in the moment. So that comes here. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the bad. Number one thing in here, the dialogue. The dialogue, this movie, a spoiler alert later on for my eventual, what my ranking of this movie would be with the what letter score I would give it. Originally, I was going to give this movie a B+, but the dialogue held it back to a B, because the dialogue in here, there's a couple scenes where I just go, really? Really? You had those lines? Who wrote that? That is easily the worst dialogue I've heard of this franchise so far. And I guess I will always know what you did last summer probably has the worst. But this probably had the second worst dialogue, where I was going, man, I was ready to give this movie a B+, but then you dropped it down to a B. Very similar to Scream is another issue I have. This is literally just Scream 5 from 2022, but for the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise. That's what it essentially just felt like to me in this whole entire film, where I was going, you could have made a little bit more differences to make it not as similar, especially with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr.'s dynamic that you have in the movie, where it's a kind of carbon copy paste of what they did with Dewey and Gale from Scream 5 and that whole entire franchise, essentially. So, yeah, I wish they kind of turned back down Scream-isms. Jennifer Love Hewitt's involvement. So I already talked about Freddie Prinze Jr.'s, but Jennifer Love Hewitt kind of doesn't feel like she's a major part of this movie at all, where she just kind of gets thrown in there for some nostalgia, and that's essentially it, really. But that is, ladies and gentlemen, that is just my thoughts on I Know What You Did Last Summer from 2025. Let's bring out the Toxic Nita. And I'm going to give this a toxic goodness, a B. Like I said, if it didn't have that very, very bad dialogue, I would have put this easily as a B+. But since they had that, I dropped it down to a B, unfortunately. But still, I think it is a good I Know What You Did Last Summer. And actually, it is my favorite of the franchise as of right now. And keep in mind, I'm a very casual fan to this franchise. So I'm not the targeted audience for this franchise, really, but even though I do like slasher movies, I don't love this franchise as a whole. So just keep in mind, I'm a casual fan when I say that out loud. But ladies and gentlemen, as I said, that's just my thoughts on I Know What You Did Last Summer. Be sure to leave your thoughts on the 2025 requel down below. And I might do a spoiler review, so stay tuned on the lookout in either short form or long form. But with that being said, guys, I'll see y'all next one, everybody. Peace out.